Good morning and how are you? Great to see you. Today I have a fantastic new wine recipe. I've been working on this one for a while and this is a pineapple weed wine. That's right, you've heard me. Pineapple weed. If you're unsure of what pineapple weed is, it is a lovely weed that smells like pineapple. It gives off this rich, lush pineapple aroma and little yellow berries and seeds on top of the plants. Now, delicious. It's not native to the UK, this weed. Kew Gardens brought it over from India in 1880 and somehow it escaped. And then since then it's taken over a lot of the UK, from Orkney down to Cornwall. You can find it anywhere in low-lying grass, normally along footpaths and near gates and fences and things like that. It smells divine. So if you come across pineapple weed, you can make tea from it. You can use it in salads. You can make wine from it. I've made this wine recipe a few times now and it is delicious. It is actually a member of the chamomile family, so you can make a lovely chamomile style cup of tea with this and it helps send you off to sleep. It's also partly related to the daisy family, and daisy wine is delicious. If you haven't tried making daisy wine before, it's well worth making. And this recipe is so simple to make. So come on, let's get started and make this lovely pineapple weed wine. The first thing you need is to unpick your pineapple weed. Simply pull off all the little yellow berries and seed clusters from the top of your weed. And you'll be needing only a handful. This is very pungent, this pineapple weed. Just squeeze in your fingers and that juice, that oiliness comes out and it is divine. So you only need to unpick about half a cup's worth of the pineapple weed. It does not matter if you get some of the stems and leaves into your pot of heads of the pineapple weed. It's all drinkable, it won't do any harm. However, if you get too much stored in there, it can add a slight bitterness to the wine. But a few leaves and a little bit of stored is not going to adversely affect your wine. Once you have deheaded your pineapple weed, simply put it into a clean, sanitised, sterilised fermentation bucket. Once you've added your pineapple weed heads, you want to grab yourself an apple and slice it thinly and then add that to your pot. The flavour and the juice of the apple just helps to complement and balance out that pineapple flavour. It's a sweet pineapple flavour and it's so aromatic on the nose, and the apple helps to bring down those high notes and just cement and give it a bit more body on the tongue. It works really well if you add apple to your mix. So shove in your apple. The next thing we need to add to the pot is 250 grams of raisins, sultanas or currants. That dried fruit really brings out the depth of the flavour of the pineapple and contrasts it really well. With wines, you normally want to have a whole balance of flavours in your mouth. So shove in your currants, sultanas, raisins. The next thing we want to add is 250 grams of demerara or brown sugar. The depth and the molasses and the nuttiness of the brown sugar really complements that high pineapple high notes. So 250 grams, again, into your pot. And then add 1 kilogram of granulated sugar for the fermentable sugar. Shove it straight in on top of everything else. Looking divine, that is. Brilliant. On top of the pineapple weed, the currants or raisins, the brown sugar, the apple and the granulated sugar, you want to squeeze in the juice and the rind of 1 lemon. The citric acid from the lemon will help add a vinosity to the wine and also help the yeast do its thing. So just squeeze in the juice of your lemon. Brilliant on top of everything. It is smelling delish, it is. So shove in the chunks as well, and then grab yourself 4 litres of warm water and pour it directly on top of everything. And get those flavours working with the warm water. And give it a quick twirl with your stirring stick or a spoon. Just make sure everything is sanitised before it goes into the liquid or comes in contact with the fermentation bucket. Already there is a sweet pineapple aroma coming off it. It's not as pungent as sniffing a whole chopped pineapple. Now this makes a 12% really light, refreshing wine, which goes perfectly with fish dishes, chicken dishes, couscous, Mediterranean style, and also curries. The pineapple nuss cuts through curry really well and refreshes your palate. So this dish, universal, any light dinner or a curry or pasta, Mediterranean style, beautiful. What we need to do now is add the essential ingredient to turn this from a cordial into a wine, and that is the yeast. Now I'm using a general purpose yeast simply because this wine does not call for anything too special. If you have something more special and you want to explore and experiment with it, absolutely go for it. However, I find a general purpose yeast does the job brilliantly well. And it's all about keeping things simple with winemaking. You don't want to overcomplicate the flavours unnecessarily. And already I can smell that yeast starting to work with that sugar and the brown sugar. It's giving a really yeasty nuttiness with that hint of pineapple. This wine is divine. So what we need to do now is get a lid and close it off and leave it for 3 to 4 days in a warm place. Get that initial fermentation going really well. And I'll be back in 3 to 4 days to finish off this wine with you. So until then, you have fun now. Greetings, and 3 days have passed since we left our wonderful pineapple weed wine fermenting in the bucket. And to be honest, I've been stirring it every day, giving it a swirl, getting all that oxygen into it so that the yeast can have a really good, brilliant party in it. It is looking and smelling divine. Now, let's have a look. It's smelling so brilliantly fruity, citrusy, pineapple-ish, divine, and it's looking brilliant. The dried fruits have swelled up, the apple floating around there with the lemon, and the little seeds, little heads of the pineapple weed bobbing around. This is one of the brilliant, amazing wines that will sit in wine glass and remind you of summer. It's like a nice fruity IPA that just reminds you of summer and spring and all the best bits of the summer season. And what we need to do now is grab a funnel or a shiwi and transfer all the liquid into a clean demijohn. So I'm grabbing myself a funnel or a shiwi, and I have put a pair of ladies' tights inside of my shiwi, my funnel, to capture those seed heads, the lemon, the apple and the currants, sultanas, raisins. So grab yourself your clean, sanitised, sterilised demijohn, insert your funnel and simply start pouring all that liquid into the demijohn. And try not to make a mess if you can. You'll notice as the liquid drips through the lady's tights, it's a really brilliant dark straw colour. This wine has taken so much colour from those very few, half a cup of pineapple weed seed heads. It's a brilliant colour, and the taste and the aroma will follow that colour when you come to drink it in the wine glass in a few months' time. Wow, just having a sample there of what was left over in the bucket when I poured it in. It is, wow. You get the initial burst of sweetness from the sugar because it's not been turned into alcohol yet. But then you get this citrusy, hoppy, high note, which is pineapple packed on the tongue, on the taste buds. And then you come into the nuttiness, brown demerara sugar essence in your mouth, which sucks your cheeks in with this full molasses flavour. This is going to be a brilliant, fantastic wine come spring, summer next year. Wow. Now, let me try again now. And what we need to do now is insert a clean airlock into the top of the demijohn, and we'll set this aside for 2-3 months and let the yeast do the wonderful thing of fermenting all that sugar and turn it into the wonderful pineapple wine that we deserve after spending so long picking those little seed heads up. It's well worth it. This pineapple wine weed, brilliant. Go and make it, and in the meantime, why don't you go and check out this awesome video up by here, and I'll see you next week for another wonderful but very, very much weird wine recipe. It's brilliant, it's going to be. I'll see you soon, and you have fun now.